what we're going to do now is we're going to create this shape here, and then we're going to create this shape here, and then we're going to do these cross beams. Actually, while I'm at it, I may as well just do this in here. There we go. So let's make a start on this piece here. So I'm just going to click on this face here, and I'm just going to extrude upwards. Obviously it's not at the right angle for what we're looking for, but we'll just go straight up. We'll go into left view, which should, in our case, is effectively the front view for us, or rather the back view. Just move this over here till it's in roughly the right position. Yep, that's pretty good. Zoom out. We'll do it in the other dimension now. Make sure that's kind of right. Yeah, looking good. Then we'll just do an extrude. Now we just need to move that in. Yep, that's cool. But actually, in doing that, we've given us a face which is sloping down here. What that means is if we extrude that face inwards, oops, if we extrude that face inwards, it's going to go down at an angle like this. So let me just undo this until we get back to flat. Now I can extrude that in, flat, and then I can just get these vertices and make an adjustment here. There we are. So now that's looking pretty cool. Actually, we just need to do it for both of these, don't we? There we are. Now we need to connect these edges together. The connection there. I'm going to move this in here to this point. And I'm just going to scale these edges. Just going to hold on R and scale on Y. That's going to make them square. We're actually scaling them so they're basically now lying flat on the Y plane. And then I'm just going to adjust them again, move them back into position. So that's given us a nice basis for our model there. We can actually connect these two parts very easily. And so now we need to do this area here. It's a very similar kind of system. We'll just hold down extrude, extrude this upwards, go into, let's say, front view. And then we're just going to press W to translate and just move that into the right kind of position here. Here we go. Yeah, that's looking pretty cool. And now we're going to pull this inwards this way. And now I'm going to extrude upwards. Same technique as before. We'll keep the piece nice and straight. Press W just to move that down. And then we're going to extrude these inwards. And, I want to make sure that I leave a gap here for this bar. So just extrude inwards. And then once again. Now we just need to do some basic vertex manipulation here, just to get this to be the right kind of shape. So we just get those four vertices, pull them in until we're right there. And then I'm going to select these vertices, just making sure I don't select anything else. This is one of the main things that you do when you're modeling. Sometimes you accidentally select some vertices or some geometry that you're not intending to. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. And now I'm going to select all of the vertices on the top here and pull it this way until we get a nice shape there. That's looking very good. Okay, so we're in pretty good shape now. Let's put in this cross beam here, this support between these two parts. So for that, we're going to do the same old thing as before. We're just going to extrude outwards. Extrude outwards here. We'll just do this by eye. I'm just going to move this down here. And what we're going to encounter here is a situation that you'll have time and time and time again when you're modeling. And that's where you have two pieces of geometry that you actually want to join together. And this is called welding. So there's a couple of different ways that you can tackle this problem. One which is the easy way, and I'm going to show you the easy way and the more complex way. So basically, to connect these two areas up, we can use one method which is called bridging, which is a relatively new feature anyway, which is why I described it as being easy, because it is easy, which is why it's so cool. And then the other method is we actually build in new geometry in between these points here. So we actually create polygons ourselves. So I'll show you the easy way first. You basically need to have the polygon from which you're going and the polygon to which you're aiming for. And you then click on bridge and it creates some bridging geometry in between them. As you can see, very easy to do. Now, if we go to the options for bridge, you can see you've got options to increase the number of segments in the bridge. You can also taper the bridge as well, so you can change the shape of it, as you can see. And you can also bias that taper as well. You can change the shape of it. If you put in more segments, it's actually easier to see. You can change the curvature of that taper. You can also make the taper go, as I said, the other way. So you can change the taper in a number of different ways. But in this case, we'll just cancel it, and I'll just show you the slightly more difficult way. For that, we need open faces. So I'm going to press delete to delete this polygon, delete to delete this polygon. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to temporarily turn off the symmetry, or rather, let's just turn off show end result for a second. And let me just zoom in on here. First of all, I'm going to build a polygon in this gap here. Let's just go into polygon mode, create, and we're going to go anti-clockwise and double click here to create the polygon. Now we're going to go from here to here to here to here, double click, and then we'll just go here, 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 double click here. And now if I turn on show end result, let me just zoom out a bit. There we go. So you can actually see we've filled in that hole there. Pretty cool. I'll just grab these vertices here and let's just move these up a little bit. Actually, I'll do the edge instead. It's easier to select the edge. Let's move this up here somewhat. And there we go. And I can just move that down actually, and that creates sort of impression of there being maybe a weld there, as you can see. So now let's do the same kind of thing for the back end. I'll just do this a little bit more quickly. Zoom in here. Here. There we are. Just use the quick technique. Not cheating, it's just using one of the features. Gets it done quicker, so there's no problem with that. That's cool. And now let's end into the end game on this model, really. We'll just put in these plates on the end here. So what we'll do in this case is we're going to extrude out ever so slightly just to create a little bevel at this point. So I'm just going to extrude here a tiny amount. It's actually quite difficult to do, so once I've extruded, just do it by hand. There we are. Then I'm going to scale this. Actually, let's just do it in 2 dimensions here. Extrude this slightly so we've got this bevel here. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to extrude out a little bit further. So let's just extrude this out. Then I'm going to move it back until it's basically in exactly the same plane. There we are. And then I'm going to scale this in 2 dimensions again until it's the right kind of size for us. Just go up here. There we are. So now we've got the basis there, but what we have to do is we just have to extrude across here. I mean, I can't just pull this because we're going to get this effect here. I'll show you here. So what we have to do is we have to extrude this face out a little bit. So let's just use extrude. Use the options there. That's great. And we are. We've got our plate. Now the next thing we're going to do is these little areas here. So let's just zoom in here. And just extrude outwards. Just going to move this around manually. Press W there to translate it. Move it up into the right position. You can pretty much guess what I'm going to do now. Just move that in there a little bit. There we go. Just extrude outwards slightly. Make sure we get the right kind of width here. And actually what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do something to make my life a little bit easier. I'm going to actually detach this geometry into a separate object just to make things a little bit easier for me. Let me just select these faces. Make sure I've got that right. Yeah. And I'm going to go up here and I'm going to say detach. And then I'm going to select that object, which we've got here. Go up to hierarchy, affect the pivot point, center it to the object. And then I'm going to go up here and I'm going to put symmetry onto it. Let's find the symmetry modifier. There we are. We want Z as the plane, because you can see this thing is symmetrical here, so I actually want to only model part of it once. So let's go down here, and then let's see if we've got the right plane. No, we haven't. Let's go back up to symmetry, flip that, back down to edit poly. Okay, move that. Ah, we need to have turn on end result. There we go. I actually did have it the right way around. Flip that back. There we go, and then we're just going to move that up here. And in this case, in the actual model, this is a curved piece of metal here. It goes around in a bend. So I'm going to actually follow that. And for that, I'm going to use a thing called, it's a polygon tool. So we go here, and if you click here, you can see we have a tool here called hinge from edge. So I'll just turn that on. And we need to pick the edge on which it's going to hinge. And you can see we've got an angle here of 30 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for, instead of say 45 degrees, which would just be one segment, instead of going here and then to here, I'm going to do it a number of times so we get a nice kind of curvature going around here. So let me just work out what kind of angle we need here. I would say we need something like 11.25, it looks like. So let me just do an 11.25 here and say apply. And we'll apply it a few times. And there we go. We've created a nice curve just by hinging. Oops. Let me just redo that. And then, actually, let's just undo that again because we lost that last segment there. So let's just go to hinge from edge, 11.25, apply, 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 apply. Oops, we need to pick the edge and then apply. And then OK that. And then we just need to extrude this outwards to the right kind of length. There we go. We've got our bracket. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to get this and I'm going to say right click on it, convert to editable poly. I'm going to get this editable poly here. I'm going to attach this to here. There we are. And then I'm going to look at these vertices. You can see we have if I just zoom in on here, you can see we have a couple of problems here. If I click on this vertex and move it, you can see that this face here and this face here are not actually attached together. I want to fix that. And you can also see that we've lost this face here for some reason. That actually seems to have been destroyed during the last set of modeling operations that we did in the separate object. Okay, and we just turn off. Let's go to wireframe for a second here and have a look what we've got going on. Actually a little bit difficult to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just get this object here. We'll go in here. We do have an edge here, so I'm just going to move that out just to make it a little bit easier to see. Okay, and you can see that we don't have the edge that we need here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go to border mode. Just turn on shaded here. Select this. I'm going to cap it. So that gives us our face back. Then I'm going to select this vertex here and this vertex here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to connect them together. So if we go to connect, that puts in an edge between these two vertices. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just select this loop here. And I'm going to move it down so it forms one of these connections, which we need here. And then I'm going to select all of these edges here in a ring. Just do a ring selection. Just connect that together. Just move that up until it's in roughly the right position here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select this face here and get rid of it. And now I'm going to push this edge back into position approximately. And I'm going to do the same thing for this edge here. Move this into position here. Just zoom in to a good distance here. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get these vertices, in fact in this loop. I'm just going to select this loop, move this down to the right position. Do the same thing here. That actually looks pretty good as it is, really. So now I'm going to use a system called Target Weld, and that will actually allow us to combine these two vertices so they form one vertex. So let's just go to Target Weld. So we're just going to go there. We'll do the same here as well. Target Weld. There we go. Snaps into position. Do the same here. Target Weld. These are a little bit fiddly. So let's just move these out. There we are. Target Weld. There we are. And now, if we select edge, you can see we can move this, and they now share the same edge. So we have a nice unified model here. We just need to create these last parts up here. So let's just click on this area here, zoom in on it. So you can see we need two subdivisions here to allow this tube to extrude out of here, and we need one, well, maybe one or two, probably two there as well. So let's just do those very quickly. Let's just select here, go to connect, change it to 2. Okay. Go here, just click on the connect button, use the scale, scale it inwards until we're roughly in the right spot, and then we can just move this along, pressing W, move it into the right position here, then use vertex adjust to move that there. Yep, that's looking quite good. We need to do the same thing here. Let's just use the vertex to move these here. Actually, let's just turn off 3D snaps there. Do the same here. Now we can start extruding out these faces here. So you can see it's at a funny angle. So, you know, there's no way around that. We just have to go with that. So let's extrude out here, extrude out to here. And let's just move that out to this position here. Move down here. Pretty good. Select these vertices, move them around to here. You can see it's at an angle, so what we need to do now is actually just move it up a bit. Move it up here. Oops, let's just do this 3 dimensions here. Move that up to here. And then we'll just move these vertices out a little bit. So they're here. There we are. It's not bad. Then we'll make another adjustment just to keep the kind of thickness of this pipe the same. So just move this in here. And then we'll extrude outwards. There we are. Can now move this around to here. Just go to here roughly. Just these vertices into this kind of position here. You can see. And then we'll just move that up. Oops. Let's just select these to the right spot. There. You can see it's looking pretty good now. And all we need to do now is to join up this face here and this face here. And as we saw earlier, the easiest way to do that is to bridge it. There we are. So now, as you can see, there's a slight problem with thickness here. We just need to adjust these vertices here slightly. So move those into position. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. The other option actually is to do this one here. I think I'll actually do that instead. There we go. Actually, no, it's actually perfectly fine where it was there. It does need to be this one. So yeah, there we go. So now we've got these basically side bumpers put into position. That's it. So in this chapter, we very quickly knocked up a frame for our go-kart. What I'm going to do in the next chapter, which will be quite short, so I'm just going to finesse it somewhat, give it a little bit more quality in certain areas. Let's do that now.